Events take place over the course of the last 2 weeks, and we've kind of been cueing you guys into, hey, pray for us as we have some conversations and discussions, and we want to remind you kind of what we've been asking you to pray for in regards to a facility. Camp Sangak's been more than amazing, and God has used them in an awesome way as we prepare to launch this church. But for many reasons, not the least of which is cold temperatures, we've got to do something in the short term that's different than the camp. And we are looking for the place that God would allow us to launch the church from. We have some short-term needs and some long-term needs that we're praying for. We have been praying for, as far as facilities is concerned, a place that can seat 300 people, whether it's in one service or whether it's two services of 150. We need a large enough space that we can grow into, not a space that's too small from the start. We are praying for a place that has parking for that amount of people. We're praying for a space that has childcare for that amount of people, and we're childcare space, and we're praying for a space that's close to our target area where Route 100 or Route 422 connect in the Pottstown, North Coventry community, right near the Coventry Mall. Those have been kind of the things that we've been asking God for. And that has been very difficult to find, especially after all the school districts have said no, the movie theater said no, the mall said no, and the retail space was like $7 million. So we are saying, God, we know that you've called us here to this place. We're open to being flexible, but Lord, teach us, show us. We've been chasing down all kinds of possibilities over the course of the last 6 months pretty intently. And what I'm going to share with you next is an answer to all of these prayers. Everything that we have been asking God for, the opportunity that God has laid before us, it has 300 seats, it has parking, it has childcare, and it's just a few miles from the Coventry Mall. And so, as I was reflecting back over this weekend, and I thought about this prayer, I'm like, God literally said okay. and I was surprised by it, right? But we've been praying first and then following God's lead. We've been praying, it got cut off there, that God would build his church through multiplication, with or without a building. And we know that the building is simply a tool to connect people to Christ. It's not the church. God has answered this prayer through a church. It's going to be called Connections Church. And I want to tell you a little bit about the history of this church. This church was planted more than 15 years ago. And for 15 years or more, they have been meeting in a middle school or elementary school in Spring City. Over the last 5 years, this church has been in a building program that when we came to town, we weren't even aware of. But they're moving their church from an elementary center to a brand new building on 724. They're changing the name of their church from Spring Valley Church to Connections Church. They are just about to complete their building project. What they are building is a brand new auditorium that seats more than 400 people, has a gargantuan lobby with a cafe in it, has a separate building that houses a youth room, a large youth room, and several kids' classrooms, as well as offices, and there's this big deck breezeway that connects the two buildings. They're building that. They're hoping for themselves to be able to move into their church at the end of October. So they're still in the midst of this building process. I'll link you to a video that gives you a tour of their building and where they're at in their building process. They've been doing some regular updates. God, through his providence, has connected us to this pastoral team at Connections Church. And they have, the connection is pretty simple. I moved in next door to one of their pastors in our neighborhood. And so the day I was moving in a snowstorm in March, this guy came over and he said, "Hey, I hear you're a pastor." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Me too." So we were like, cool, there's two pastors on the same street. And we've been having some conversations, and they've been on our prayer team, they've been praying for us. This leadership approached us about a month and a half ago and said, "Hey, if you'd be willing to consider launching on a time other than Sunday mornings, we'd be willing to consider renting you our facilities. We want to share it." Now, let me again remind you of this amazing picture. They haven't even moved into it yet. It's going to be brand new. It's this shiny, you got a brand new toy when you came home, right? And how many people did you want to give that to? So they had, before they even moved in the building, said, "We want to be a part of building Branch Life Church." They call their facility a base camp. They want it to be a place that sends people and builds churches to fight for the kingdom of God. And so they said, if we can fill the building on Sunday mornings and you can fill the building on Sunday nights, that's a win. And so they're very excited about the opportunity that they have. We have some different stripes theologically. They're a little bit more Pentecostal. They're undercover Pentecostal, we're undercover Baptist, right? So there's some differences there, but it's nothing that separates us from the gospel. And so they're gospel-minded for the kingdom, brothers and sisters in Christ, and they're wanting to see us succeed. And so they've offered that. Just this past week, they approved us to be able to rent their facilities on Sunday nights. The 400-seat auditorium, all the child's care space, all the parking, the cafe, all that stuff we would be able to use if we were willing to do it on Sunday nights. So I just praise God for Connections Church's generosity and willingness to team together. Not every church is super thrilled when someone moves into town and says, hey, we're planting a church nearby. Just to kind of give you a map of where we are, this is Pottstown. We believe that God has called us to this area, and we're wanting to connect with, this picture represents roughly 200,000 people. We are right now right down here at Camp Sankanet. So if you drive up 100 and then go down 724, this part is their building. So right off of 422, it's the Kime Street exit. You come straight off of that, you're at their building and facility. Just a few miles down from what we call our Miracle Building, the Coventry Mall, the old movie theater. It's about 3 miles down 724. So that's the location where it is. You can see here's Birdsboro, Pottstown. All of you guys are coming from different places. Elverson, Boyertown, Douglasville. We're right close to the center. Just to get you a little bit closer in, you can see it right here is the campus where they're building the new auditorium. Here's the exit off of 422, and here's the Coventry Mall, and then all of Pottstown. So, what our next steps are is if we agree to say, hey, let's launch at Connections Church on Sunday nights, we would begin this process of what we call a launch plan. Very similar to a countdown that you would hear for when a rocket goes off, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We have steps for every number in the launch plan. I want to kind of share you the possibilities. So let's imagine, yes, we're going to be at Connections. Yes, we've made the decision to launch there. And yes, it's going to be on Sunday nights, so we won't have Sunday mornings. What's going to happen? Over the course of the next several months, we're right here on September 30th. We're in this pre-launch phase. We have several more meetings here at camp. Probably on the 7th, we would meet here for our celebration service. Have 3 more meetings, probably most likely in the dining hall or in the Traber Center. But then starting in November, we would move to the new campus and start meeting on Sunday nights. They have a youth room that's in the building that's not being renovated. That is enough for our core team to meet. We can start meeting in their youth room on Sunday nights starting in November and do that through December. During the same time period, they're going to be moving into their auditorium upstairs. So we didn't want to kind of make it harder for them by saying, let us in the auditorium right away. They haven't even moved in yet. So we would have 2 months of preparation, prayer, planning, training. And there's a lot of things that we have to do as a core team to get ready for this launch. We would take advantage of that on Sunday nights. Then starting in January, we would start a strategic countdown to launch with 4 preview services. So January 6th would be 1, February 10th, March 10th, and April 7th. The reason we didn't do February 3rd is the Eagles are going to be in the Super Bowl. All right? So, Sunday night. Remember, we're on Sunday nights.
That's fine.
So, we're going to do
I'll take it.
Preview service on the 10th. So, these preview services are all in preview services. And there's a strategy for preview services, and I want to fill you in on it, why we would do it this way. Why don't we just launch in January? Why do we wait until our launch Sunday on January 28th? In each of these preview services, we would push very hard, both individually, Pray, Invest, Invite, and in through the community, publicity, on the radio, signs, community projects, to invite people to our preview services. And the ask is, will you come to our preview service? We're getting ready to launch in a few months. We need your input and feedback as a community member on what we're doing well and where we can improve. And so you're asking someone to help you and do a favor for you. And so a lot of times friends and neighbors and relatives who wouldn't interested in becoming church for themselves would come for you. And then we're also looking and asking to find people that are interested in a church. Maybe there's people that need a church to connect to. We want them to come to these preview services. Then what we will do as pastors and as a core team is everybody who attends these preview services, we will follow up with through the next month. So we have about 4 weeks between each preview service. We're going to connect with them. We're going to invite them to join the church, to become a part of the core team, get their feedback and evaluation if they're not interested in joining, and then thank them for helping us launch Brass Life Church. So theoretically, the smallest group we'll have is right here on January 6th. Maybe we'll get 100 people. So on our special Sundays, we've been having about 100. That's been a great number for us. So let's say we have 100 people here. If we do things right as a team, by the time we get to February, we should have more than that. Let's say 125, 150. By the time we get to March, we should have more than that, and our core team should have grown by 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people. So maybe we're pushing 150, 200 here. At the beginning of April, maybe we're pushing 200 or more for our preview services. Then we do an all-out full-court press, basketball analogy, for our launch Sunday. All in. Everybody's invited. Everyone who visited, everyone who came to a preview service, come help us launch. All of our network churches, all of our friends and family. We're saying, send your people, come with us, celebrate with us. We are launching Branch Life Church. It is not inconceivable that in a 400-seat auditorium, we might use all of the seats on a launch Sunday just because of friends and family from other churches coming to visit us. But it creates an excitement, and the strategy is called launching big. So we have a lot of people that we've connected with. We're going to swell artificially and have a lot of numbers right here on our launch Sunday. But then when we get into May and we start going through the rest of the month, it'll settle back down into our core group, which at that time may be 200 people. And so we would launch our church on April 28th, that's the Sunday after Easter, and then build it from the group that settles, say 200, through the rest of the life of the church. So that would be our strategy. Does that make sense? I'm going to do question and answers in a second, if you can hold. So I might pre-answer your question. Sunday evening worship services. So one of the big things that we didn't see coming was that God would say, hey, yeah, launch the church, but don't do it on Sunday mornings. Wait, what? Do it on Sunday nights. So what are the pros and cons of Sunday nights? Why would we, maybe why should we consider holding out for something else? Here's some pros just off the top of my head. Sunday night has a uniqueness to it. Sunday night used to be a really traditional time where churches gather. It isn't anymore. There are not a lot of churches that meet on Sunday nights, let alone have their only service on Sunday night. That is unique. Somebody said, what's going to make you different from the other churches in your region? Well, if we only meet on Sunday night, that's different. And that brings with it opportunity. So there are some people that cannot do a Sunday morning that could do a Sunday night where this could be used by them to connect them to a church. Because we would have just a Sunday night offering, it would be unique. I already talked to one of my neighbors. I said, hey, we might be meeting on just Sunday nights. He goes, really? He's like, I can't do Sunday mornings, but we can do Sunday night. I'm like, really? Yeah, he was like, yeah. So it's got some uniqueness to it. We have a facility that's available to us on Sunday night. That's a pro, right? That's a big deal. It answers all of our spots. It gives us some unique community service opportunities. There's a lot that happens in the communities now on Sunday mornings that the church is not generally a part of because we have separated ourselves out. But if we're meeting on Sunday nights, Sunday mornings are now a unique opportunity that we have to serve and connect. We can, as a church, be a part of some things that churches can't traditionally be a part of on Sunday mornings. So we could serve in that way. The time is attractive to young adults, families, and the unchurched. So there are some opportunities, especially for young adults who don't want to get out of bed and come somewhere on Sunday morning because it's their day off, but they'll be there in the evening. Hard to get the kids out in the mornings, but you can get them out in the evenings, that kind of stuff. And then the uniqueness with the unchurched. So we see some advantages. Some of the cons, just really practical stuff. Holidays, it becomes weird, right? It's Easter, let's go to church at 5:30 at night. So it just can be a little bit strange, can be a little bit out of the ordinary, have the big Easter dinner, then go to church. So there's some funniness in holidays. Our branch group schedules, a lot of our branch groups meet on Sunday night, so this isn't a deal breaker, but we would have to adjust and have some of our groups would have to change their time meetings. It is in and around dinner time, so if you do it too early, people are thinking food, right? How do I eat and get there? If you do it too late, it's a school work night. So you have to remember that people are, or work night. You have to remember that people are thinking about the next day. And so when we have the service is important to kind of get that sweet spot between dinner and being out too late. And then you have the summer and football activities that can happen on Sunday nights during football season. During the summer, it's darker later, and so people don't like to pick up their activities if they're doing something and go do something else. So you have some of those pros and cons for Sunday night. I get super excited about some of those pros, but that's just me. We have a vision for Branch Life Church that is beyond just launching. And so I want you to make sure that you have in your minds this idea that we aren't just saying, hey, this Sunday night renting thing is forever. It's not. It is a step into where God is taking us next. And so as I've talked to other churches that have launched or held primary services on Sunday nights, they all said it was really good for a season. And so God might be calling us to this season, but I want to remind us today, what's the vision? Where do we want to go as Branch Life? We don't want to be in someone else's building on Sunday nights. Our vision for Branch Life is that we become an embedded church. And if you saw the prayer email or the core team update and you hit the link, there's an article that I linked you to that explains what an embedded church is. And we want to be a church that has a facility that the facility doubles as a community connection and a church. It's a facility that in essence pays for itself because it's a business of some kind that's a part of the community Monday through Saturday, and then it's a church on Sundays. Our dream is that we can get the old movie theater or something like it and turn it into an event or family or community center. And people would come in and rent the facility. It would be attractive and awesome, and they would use it, and we'd connect with them. And then on Sundays, we'd use it for our needs. But we could have concerts or kids' family activities or banquets or stuff all during the week, and then have church on Sunday mornings. That way, the facility is being paid for by itself, and then what the Lord is bringing in through tithes and offering, much more of that can go to ministry instead of being stuck in a building. So that's our dream. That's where we're going for. That's where we want to get to. And so as we launch the church, we're also going to be launching our long-term initiative or program or plan. And we still have a dream for God to get us there. So we're not forgetting that. But this step may buy us time and give us some short-term relief as we go towards our long-term needs. So that's the news. That's what we're thinking about and praying about. We as a leadership team are going to be getting together on Wednesday and talking more about this. We value your input, and we want to have this discussion before we say, yes, this is the direction we're going. We're excited about the possibilities that this has, but we want to make sure that as a church, we all feel that God is leading us this direction. So please give us your feedback. Please give us your input. A couple of minutes for question and answer. Does anybody have any questions?
On that first part where you had different months listed, you had one circle and one. Does that mean we're only having one service in January?
No, we would still meet on Sunday nights in the auditorium. Anybody could come. These would be special preview services, so we just go all out. The rest would be a little bit more low-key, kind of what we're doing here, but we would expect that people would attend and build and be a part of it in between, but we'd have a special emphasis on those preview Sundays. So if we're starting here, we'd be in the main auditorium. Yeah, and then this is launch Sunday. Any other questions?
Can you guess what?
How much does it cost?
Yes.
Yeah. That's good. I came to me. The cost is $3,000 a month starting in January. So for us to rent their facility is $3,000 a month. It's roughly $35,000 for the whole year starting in January, which for the facilities that we're getting is an amazing deal. So they're not charging us anything for November and December. They want us to start, and then starting in January with $3,000 a month. Yeah. Sure?
Would your offices move there as well?
I don't think they have office space for us, so we've toured the building and I didn't notice it. We didn't ask either. Yeah. Any other questions?
Do you have a potential start time for services?
We think somewhere between 5 and 6. whether it's 5:30, 6 o'clock, that seems to be maybe right after dinner or before bedtime, or vice versa. Some people like to eat later, or probably earlier rather than later, but we're still playing with that. Yes. Any other questions?
You could have dinner and a service.
We could have food there, yeah, especially for kids. Pizza night every night. Timeline, how long are they going to let us be there? So we've talked to them in terms of 6 months to 2 years. So they know this could potentially be a 2-year arrangement. The cost is good through 2019, and in 2020 we reevaluate. If at any time it's becoming unworkable for them, we have said we will step away. We don't want to impose, this is theirs. Anything they ask us to do, we will do it. And anything they don't want us to do, we're not going to do. And we want to leave their facility better every Sunday night than when we got there. So that's our goal. So we want to do some cleaning on Sunday nights. We want to make sure everything's picked up and put back away. Anything we break, we're going to pay for, that kind of stuff. And hopefully we'll also be able to add to their facilities and maybe get them some things that they could use for their own ministries as well. I don't know how many attend their church. I think it's in the 300 range. Any other questions? Go once. Let's pray together. God, Heavenly Father, as we